This is Heather Van Wild. Before we go too far into this playlist, I want to take a moment to give a fair warning on what you're about to hear. While the specific content of this video is no more extreme than what is seen in much of today's media landscape, the reality of it is still deeply traumatic. That said, I please ask that you exercise caution before watching this.
Good afternoon. Please be seated.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I see we're on the record. Would you like me to call the case?
Yes, please.
Your Honor, we are here in the matter of the State of Oregon versus Benjamin Smith. This is court number 22CR08677. Nathan Vasquez, representing the District Attorney's Office in the State of Oregon. Your Honor, for the record, my bar number is 014437. Mr. Smith is present. He is represented by Mr. Jonathan Sarr. And Your Honor, this is the time, date, and place for sentencing in this matter. We were before Your Honor last on March the 8th of 2023, and we are prepared to proceed to sentencing. The state will be making a brief statement to the court, and then there are, by my count, 7 or 8 potential victims that would like to make a statement to the court.
Okay, and so I notice it looks like we are at full capacity here in the courtroom, and it looks like there are some additional people who are in the lobby area there. I wanted to make sure that all of the people who wanted to address the court or who would fall under the definition of victim in the case are given the opportunity to be in the courtroom. Do we have everyone in the courtroom who would fall into that category?
Your Honor, I believe so, with the exception of 2 that I believe are appearing via WebEx.
Oh, okay. But everyone who's here in person who is a victim in the case is able to be in the courtroom right now.
That is my understanding, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure of that. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, all right, and Mr. Sarr.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. John Sarr for the record with Mr. Smith, SARRE034434.
All right, thank you. And so for the people on the WebEx call, it looks like we do have several people. And so Mr. Vasquez has let me know that a few of you will want to speak from the WebEx call. So thank you for joining us. But for all the people on the WebEx call, if we could keep your devices muted until we get to the people who are going to be in a speaking role, then they can unmute. Otherwise, it creates real static here, and we're not able to have an orderly court proceeding then. So thank you all for your cooperation in that regard. Okay, so we are here for a sentencing. I know how many of you were here on March 8th when we accepted guilty pleas to counts 1 through 9 in this case, and then we set this day for sentencing, and so people at this point have an opportunity to speak and share their thoughts with the court and the defendant in the case, and then the attorneys will also provide additional information here regarding sentencing. So probably the best way for us to proceed today is to have Mr. Vasquez let us know in which order people wanted to present themselves.
Yes, Your Honor, and I have spoken to those individuals, and I have an order written up, and I will have each one either come up or present when it's their turn.
Okay, all right, and then who are we going to start with today?
Your Honor, the state will start with a brief presentation, and then I will have one person on WebEx.
Okay.
If that's acceptable.
Sure, absolutely, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. I want to start by recognizing, first and foremost, the immense loss to the community and to the family of June Knightley. February 19th of 2022 marked a significant date in this community in which we lost a person who was a very valuable member to the community, to her family, and to her friends. But I also want to recognize the immense amount of pain and trauma that the victims that were present that night, their family, and their friends have experienced from that date and then going forward to this very day, and I believe they will be experiencing for probably the rest of their lives. February 19th was a day that was a traumatic and horrible event, is the only way to sum it up. On that particular day at Normandale Park, a group had gathered to do a protest and to have their voices heard. And I believe that many of these people will tell you from their own words that they will continue to have their voices heard, despite the actions of Mr. Smith. And today, after speaking carefully with some of those victims, and one in particular who you're going to hear from today, there is some points that I think are important to set the record straight. This is a case that resulted in a plea, so we did not have a full trial where we aired out all of the facts. And there were some very important things to individuals that they would like really the world and the community to know. First and foremost is that they gathered there that night to have their voices heard, and the people that were most directly impacted and violated by these crimes were really the safety volunteers. They were there to help make sure that it was a safe situation. And that on that particular night, they were confronted by Mr. Smith, who was a resident that lived in the area, not a homeowner, but someone that lived in an apartment complex nearby. And having viewed the video that one of the victims took with her own camera, having viewed that many times, what I can say after an extensive and exhaustive police investigation is that from that video and from that investigation, it is abundantly clear that those safety volunteers did everything in their power to try to de-escalate that situation, to avoid a conflict, and to just peacefully have their voice heard. Unfortunately, on that particular night, Mr. Smith would not have that. He sought out a conflict and a confrontation. He repeatedly tried to engage them into a violent confrontation. They repeatedly told him that they did not want that. This ended in approximately 15 seconds of pure horror and terror that resulted in the loss of June Knightley and many others, both physically and emotionally, being damaged for the rest of their lives. It is something that we come to a conclusion here today. The state is requesting that the court impose the sentence of life in prison on Mr. Smith with the possibility of parole only after he has served 55 years in prison. I have forwarded the documents to you for restitution, but I want to, at this point, turn the floor over to the people that I think need to have their voice heard the most. At this time, I'm going to ask that one of the victims that wants to go by the name Deg, who's on WebEx, be allowed to speak.
Tell me the name again.
Deg. It's D-E-G.
Okay.
I'll tell you, Your Honor, that the people that are speaking today will be using limited identifiers to avoid any doxing.
Okay. All right. And so the person on the WebEx line who prefers to be identified for today's purposes as Deg, D-E-G, this is Judge Marshall. If you want to go ahead and unmute your device.
I unmuted them.
Okay.
They should be able to speak.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon. This is Judge Marshall. Are you able to hear us okay?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And so I'm not sure what visual you have there, because sometimes people have only audio. Sometimes they have a visual of the courtroom. And so hopefully you can see we have a courtroom full of people here, and we have the lawyers involved in the case, and then we have the defendant, Benjamin Smith, here. And so thank you for joining us. It's important that we have participation in these legal proceedings from folks like yourself. And so tell me what you wanted to share today.